Okay, I've already cleaned the headlight just with warm soap and water to remove any grime and grease and everything else that might be on that headlight from the road. Now all you see is just the haze on the lens itself. What we're going to be doing today, and the reason why I say this is my preferred way of doing it, I bought a few of the kits for restoring the headlights from the big box stores. They come with wet dry sandpaper, kind of like, well, not quite like that, but they give you little tiny pieces, and issue is there, you kind of run out of the sandpaper before you really get the headlights done. The other issue that I see is they start off, the one kit I bought had one piece that was 1,000 grit, and then they jumped into 3,000 grit, which to me is a no-no because you're supposed to increase by steps as you sand. So basically if you're 1,000 grit, you'd want to go like 1,250, 1,500, 2,000, and then 2,500, 3,000, which is what we're going to do today. So each next step sands out the scratches from the previous. So it may be a little scary to start off here because you're going to see me start off with basically 800 grit here. So this lens is going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better. But with a little bit of time and elbow grease, I'll show you how it's done. So let's get to her. I cut a little household sponge. This is wet dry sandpaper, 600 grit. We'll just wet it a little bit. We'll wrap the sponge around it. The sponge is just so we don't put uneven pressure onto the lens. You don't really want to go like this with your hand because you'll create these ridges in the actual lens itself, and it just doesn't look good when it's all done. But the little sponge, it's kind of a little trick because it gives you even pressure. I put a little masking tape on the lens around it just to protect the paint. It's an older car, so it kind of has a clear coat coming off of it, but I thought it was a good vehicle to kind of show what we're doing here. And the spray ball is just soap and water. What we want to do is keep that as we sand. You can see it turning milky white. We want to keep that going down and not packing into the sandpaper. So I got a bucket of water here that'll rinse it off. Or you can use spray bottle, soap and water. It's a relatively simple process. It should take max half an hour or so to do a headlight. I will tell you this way is not the cheapest, just because you are buying a lot of different grits of sandpaper. The store-bought kits go for, let's say, 30, 35 bucks. I think this works out to about 42 to 45 bucks to do it this way. But doing it this way, you also have enough that you can do headlights pretty much for the rest of your life by the time you buy all the little packages of sandpaper and everything else. So what we're going to do is just keep going here for another few minutes. What we really want to do is concentrate on this level, because what we're trying to do is get all those little stone chips and everything out of the lens. And then the next layers of sanding should go fairly quick here, just because this is the one that's doing most of the work right now. And then we're going to keep working ourselves finer and finer. Kind of is hazing over here pretty good. I don't know if you can really see, there's kind of a line there. Up here is pretty good right now. From here down still has a lot of scratches in it. You'll be able to see where it's really hazy is basically where you've sanded all the way down to where there's no imperfections anymore. Here I still haven't sanded enough all through this area. So let's get sanding again and get her in, get her done. A little water on the thing, a little sandpaper, or sorry, soap and water. I did remove the masking tape just because the water was making it all come off anyways. Now we'll put on the 800 grit and go. Shouldn't take too long from now on. All the imperfections are mostly out. There's a few still in there. You could spend a lot of time polishing them, but I think this will give us the result we're looking for. Soap and water. This helps getting all that stuff you're sanding off the headlight and stops the sandpaper from packing in with it. The last thing you want to do is pick up the contaminants and scratch the lens even more. You just want the scratches you want to put in there, not the scratches that are accidental. Spray that down once more. This sandpaper you can also get from any store that sells auto body supplies or that. Because like I said, it's normally used for sanding clear coats, stuff like that. Especially brand new cars, if you want like a perfect paint job, you'd sand it down, get rid of all the orange peeling that you see, and even a fresh paint job. And then you use a cutting compound and then a finishing compound here. Now we'll go to 1500. Wet our sandpaper, soap and water the lens a little bit. You can see it's pretty much just repeating the steps as you go through. Towel here. So this is the 2500 now. Like I said, always try to use a sponge. That's what's hidden underneath my hand right now. Just a normal household sponge like you'd have in your kitchen. I just happen to cut them in half, just make them a little smaller. It's a little easier with a smaller sponge and smaller piece of sandpaper to do this versus a big sponge and a big piece of sandpaper. Just kind of fits in the palm of your hand. Which is our 3000. Here again, just wrapping the sponge with the sandpaper. Like I said, nothing fancy there. Water, soap. Which I just kind of like the Meguiar stuff. No personal preference. So what this will do is help get rid of all those little scratch marks that you see still. Polish them out. Use a nice clean microfiber towel, brand new, or a nice cleaned one. What you want to do is kind of rub it on a little bit. You might have to do this a couple times. Turn it over. Let's do that again. Yet again, just some Meguiar's polishing compound. Nothing too fancy there. Really, the different makers, most of them are pretty good. Plus, I find doing it by hand, you're not throwing compound all over the car or doing any of that stuff. It makes it a little easier on you. almost new. We'll do one more of the polishing, and we'll do a quick wax, and that'll be the end of her. While I'm doing this, please go down, like or subscribe so you can see my next video. I'll try to, for the first little bit, do one about once a month, maybe a little more, hopefully. And we'll go from there. I really want to show people the stuff I've learned. I'm a huge fan of passing knowledge on. Questions, comments, put them in below. I'll try my best to answer them. But when you look, for a car that's 13, 15 years old, that's pretty damn good right there. So we're gonna just wipe it down one last time here. That looks awesome. Now what we're going to do is just grab some wax. This just happens to be a synthetic wax from Meguiar's. But really, any wax will do. Better quality, longer it lasts. That's the only reason why I like using the Meguiar's synthetic. Like I said, I am messing around with the nanotechnology. But some of that stuff takes 24 hours to cure, which kind of makes it a pain to do, especially if you want to move the car right after. Yeah, we'll give this a few minutes to haze over. Then we'll grab a nice new cloth, we'll buff her out. Probably do 2 applications of wax, just get her looking as new as we possibly can. Yeah, looks awesome, right? Think you can do it? I think you can. Give her a few minutes here. I'm doing it in a shop today just because it's so damn cold outside. Can't really do it in the middle of winter if you can at all, because everything will start to freeze, especially the water, right? So lucky enough that bring her in the shop with the door down, we can do this. Let's give her a little buff. Flip the cloth over. What do you think? Does it look new? Should we see if it makes a difference on the output of the light? I think we should.